eno ye Extreme Media UJ. Subscribe for all updates.
Governance signs an agreement, a funding agreement with an entity, let's say Open Society. I report this agreement to the bank that whose account I have mentioned that will receive money. I attach the budget and the activities and work plan to the bank. That's only when banks clear our money. If these funds were released, the bank has an opportunity of about 2 weeks or a month before funds even come in to block that funding. Foreign remittances are cleared from the bank channels, including the Bank of Uganda. We have the Financial Intelligence Authority. We have the Bureau where we file returns every year. And being the challenge,
you cannot say one of my activities is to overthrow government. That you can never say.
No, Chair,
so how will banks know that this activity is what if you disguise?
Chair, I wanted to conclude that we are constantly supervised by the NGO Bureau. The challenge we have is a non-functional NGO Bureau. And because since the rationalization, the Bureau does not exist. We just have an administrator who is a commissioner. There is no Bureau, and in your amendments, you said this administrator is not a member of the Bureau. Now the ministry is busy closing NGOs with no Bureau, and you are giving it another entity to close the economic sector.
The question?
Yes.
Answer the question.
So if NGO Bureau was functional, and they detect, we have security agencies up to the village. Village intelligence, VISO, RISO, PISO.
Sir, I can ask.
Let me conclude. When we go to the village to implement activities, we write to the DISO, we write to the GISO that we are here to do a BC.
And that is a standard for all
NGOs.
I was just asking because you were asking her.
Yeah.
I didn't answer that question because you are saying supposing some. So I wanted to ask, are you aware of anyone in this country who has been charged for attempting to overthrow government? And under what provisions of the law has government been charged in such fashion?
Yes, I wanted to conclude actually that we have penal code and other laws in the country. If there is anybody attempting to overthrow government, whether they are from NGO, whether they are from the church, charge them with treason.
I bring in one or two examples, the Russian and Chinese blueprint, importing authoritarian toolkits. This bill that we are discussing is a copy and paste of the most oppressive foreign laws adopted to liquidate any opposition to government. The Russian precedent. Russia's foreign agent law, which is mirrored in our clause 21, was used to stigmatize NGOs and jail opposition figures like Vladimir Karamazov for 25 years for opposing government policy. Clause 5.4 imports Moscow's playbook to Kampala. There is also the Chinese precedent. Clause 3.2 designates a department responsible for peace and security, that is ISO, as the entity to register agents of foreigners. This mimics China's overseas NGO law, which placed the Ministry of State Security in charge of all NGOs. Handing ISO, in our case, this power means opposition politicians and NGO workers, many of whom I see in this room, will not face auditors. They will face intelligence operatives. Now, let me talk about decimating the NGO sector and humanitarian response. Clause 22 restricts foreign funding to 400 million Uganda shillings annually without ministerial approval. Clause 7.4 makes it a crime, which could fetch 20 years in jail for an agent of a foreigner to develop a policy without cabinet approval. Consider a local NGO fighting HIV and AIDS. They rely on partnerships with the Global Fund or World Health Organization, which are defined as foreigners under Clause 1. If local doctors sit down with these partners to draft a new national HIV treatment policy and present it to the Ministry of Health without first getting cabinet approval, the local doctors will have committed an offense under Clause 7.4 and could face 20 years in jail. There's the global precedent of India and Ethiopia. India used one of its laws to cancel the licenses of 20,000 NGOs, including Amnesty International, causing a massive collapse in humanitarian aid. Ethiopia's similar law decimated its civil society before they were forced to repeal it. Uganda cannot afford to scare away every international health, education, and refugee support organization, because that's what this bill would be doing.
We have been following it closely. We have followed the discussion online, and would like to make an offer, Honorable Chair, that you allow us to actually do the curation of the citizen views that are coming through the online engagements, the media engagements, the public discussions, such that we can provide that report to you, and it can also help you to inform the decisions that you make as a committee. Because there's a lot of debate that is going on across the country, which I think this parliament would actually benefit from to make a decision. And also, I really want to thank you as a committee for offering space actually to the public to discuss this bill, because I think this is the most widely discussed bill because it has serious implications for citizens and citizenship. Now, some of the calls that are coming through the discussions that are ongoing in the public is for this bill to be taken to the citizens and a referendum held on this bill because it has consequences for their citizenship. We have listened very meticulously to the justification that government is giving for this bill. And one of the things that they keep talking about is the fact that other countries like USA, UK, Australia, Canada have laws of this nature. Now, they are trying to make us believe that they have benchmarked. I want to invite Parliament to do its own benchmarking of this particular bill, okay, and the need for sovereignty. Because our research has actually confirmed that this bill is at total variance with those countries that they are talking about. But this bill resembles countries that government is shy to associate with. They have benchmarked on countries like Russia, Nicaragua, North Korea, Azerbaijan, Georgia, Hungary, which is now a pariah in the EU. All these countries have been isolated globally, and if Uganda continues and passes this bill in its current form, it actually risks being isolated internationally, just like those other countries. The final point I want to make on this benchmarking is that if you look at all those laws, there is one common denominator amongst those countries. These are autocracies. What has happened with the passing of such a law is that independent civil society has been closed. In a country like Nicaragua, over 1,000 organizations were deregistered just by passing this law. In India, 20,000. Independent media has been decimated. Property of research institutions, universities has been confiscated by the state. And actually, if you look at this particular bill, it is also making such proposals.
Excuse us.
The whole concept of sovereignty and how this bill inverts a constitutional principle of sovereignty. And it vests in Article 1 of the Constitution. All power belongs to the people, who shall exercise their sovereignty in accordance with the Constitution. Power belongs to the people, and they shall exercise their sovereignty in accordance with the Constitution. Now, what the bill does, rather than protecting the people's sovereignty, the bill transfers the practical exercise of this sovereignty and places it in the hands of the Minister of Internal Affairs. It is the minister who determines who is a foreigner. By extension, who is an agent of a foreigner. It's the minister who determines which activities fall within the Act by statutory instrument. He also determines who may register and on what conditions. He also determines who may receive funding. The same minister may suspend or revoke registration at any time without prior notice. This is a single appointed official. He now becomes the gatekeeper of our civic participation, determining which citizens may engage in policy advocacy, receive funding, or operate organizations with any foreign connection. That's not protection of sovereignty. That is displacement of sovereignty. In Charles Onyango Bo, in clause 22G, the bill seeks to criminalize influencing the public to oppose the policy of government. What we are doing right now is to oppose the bill. That will be criminal when this bill passes. Okay. Charles Onyango Bo Constitutional Court said the free flow of information and ideas is essential to the democratic process by which people exercise their sovereignty. Clause 11 also purports to protect the electoral expression of the people's will under Article 1.3, but the definition of agent of a foreigner is so broad it would include domestic election observers, civic education organizations, and media outlets, all of which are essential to the free and fair elections that Article 1.4 of the Constitution requires. So the concentration of this discretionary power in the minister is fundamentally incompatible with Article 1, vesting sovereignty.
Abalungi abatuuliriza era abatulaba olunaku olwaleero tuchaddeko ewa Sheikh Asiraf Dembe.
Sebo nsanyusa okubalaba amannya agange nze Sheikh Asiraf Dembe akola ku bizibu by'enjawulo. Omuntu singa aba alina ebirwadde musomereddwa tumuwa amazzi ga lukuya nga bw'obadde ogalaba tugenda abantu ku kyoto ne twokya emizimu emibi egibabaamu n'okulomba edduwa. Abantu singa abeera ng'ali wano atuuse sobola okumulombera edduwa ne waba atatuuse nga mpadde amannya ge naye nga ali wala. Manetaze enamba yange yeno eri 0707363711. Namwe bannyinaffe abali ebweru oyagala okuba nti oyagala okulombera ku dduwa ng'olina ebizibu visa zibuze amaka gakolongotana sente zikola zimpita mu ngalo ojja kumpeereza ekifaananyi kyo n'amanyago ebyo byokka bijja kummala nja kukulombera edduwa ojja kutereera. Olunaku olusembayo mu mwezi mba n'edduwa eyawamu ffenna n'abalwadde bange abakadde n'abapya. Salaamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.